Hey everyone! I've created a new channel to explore even more amazing stories, which will also serve as a backup channel. I love to have you all in joining me on this new adventure. Channel link is in the description. Now back to the recap. The person said, "There is no way that psychopath is going to spare our lives." Then he thought, "I did everything to get him the funding, and he fails. I need to make my escape before the new king kills me. But first, I must get rid of useless baggage." On the other hand, Ignet thought, "Idiot, I was against it from the start. Supplying weapons to a battle we were so obviously losing, and now we're running away in the middle of the night." Ignet's husband came over and said, "Drink this, we have a long journey ahead of us." Ignet thought, "Lies. Why would I trust you? You've never once cared for me in our 7 years of marriage." But the real tragedy isn't that I know this man's true nature, it's that I have no other choice but to listen to him. The next moment, she thought, "Did he really give me poison?" Her husband said, "You are of no use to me anymore. Why would I take you with me? Since you did help grow my business, I'll at least leave you my condolences. Goodbye." Ignet thought, "I've never had the power to make my own decisions. I don't wish to die like this, but if I must, I want to see his face one last time." Huntz came and asked, "Are you the head of the Baron Merchant Group?" He killed Ignet husband. Ignet thought, "He's here. Heinz Ascalon, victor of war, now the new king of the Baron Empire, my Grand Duke, the one I've dreamed about all my life. You're finally here for me. I've missed you so much. It's so unfortunate that I've finally met you, but I don't even have the strength to look at your face properly." The king said, "No, I am too late." Ignet thought, "Yes, you are. What took you so long? If only you'd come a little sooner. If only you hadn't taken part in the conquest of the Black Forest. I wonder what might have been different." Before this incident happened, her father had said, "You will no longer be participating in the wedding." Ignet asked, "Father, has something happened?" He replied, "The Grand Duke has been sent to different fronts for the conquest of the Black Forest. He will no longer be able to attend the wedding and plans to send a proxy in his place, so we will do the same. He'll come for you once the conquest is over. You will stay here until then." Afterward, a maid asked, "Are you all right, my lady? I know how long you have been waiting for this wedding." Ignet replied, "I am all right." The maid asked again, "A bride who can't attend her own wedding, how could you be all right?" Ignet thought, like Lena said, "For as long as I can remember, I was always lonely, stuck in a family that always singled me out. As a little girl, I couldn't resent my parents or beg for their affection. I only did my best to be the good daughter they wanted. I always hoped they'd come to care for me one day." Time passed, and all I got in return were cold shoulders and even bigger demands. Maybe that's why I was so obsessed with becoming the perfect future Grand Duchess, because if I became a flawless Grand Duchess, who was great at keeping her home and looking after the people, then I would be loved. The Grand Duke wasn't just my husband-to-be, he was my only hope, my only escape, waiting for the conquest to end, especially in comparison to how long I've already been waiting, was nothing. In the next scene, the maid came and said, "My lady, the master would like to see you. He says it's urgent." "I think it's good news. I think the Grand Duke is finally here to take you with him." Ignet thought, "The Grand Duke is here at last. Finally, this dream I've had my whole life is finally going to come true." After that, her father stated, "The divorce between you and the Grand Duke has been finalized. I'll begin searching for your next husband." Ignet asked, "Did you say divorce? What do you mean, divorce? This is all so sudden, I don't understand. Did he say he didn't want to be with me anymore?" Her father replied, "We really had no other choice. You see, His Highness stopped sending over your monthly allowance." "Monthly allowance?" Ignet asked. "You've been taking money from the Grand Duke all this time?" Her father shouted, "Of course I did. You are a married woman. I am no longer financially responsible for you. This discussion is over. Go back to your room. I'll call for you when I sort out the details of your next wedding." Ignet thought, "It was unimaginable that I would ever disobey my father. I dedicated my whole life to being the perfect Grand Duchess. I have never asked for anything else, but it all crumbled down over money. I had no leverage, no power to stand up for myself, so I had no other choice but to get married again, and on the cusp of my third wedding." Maid Lena spoke, "Master, Please. I implore you. I humbly ask that you reconsider Miss Ignet's marriage with this man. She is your cherished daughter, is she not? Please. Put off the wedding just this once. Her father said, insolent. You little. How dare a servant interfere in her master's matters? Ignet said. Lena, please wake up, her father stated. Let this be a lesson. If you or anyone around you goes against my wishes, they will suffer a similar fate. Ignet thought. I took those words to heart and lived obediently, but at the end of all that was a pathetic murder instigated by my third husband. You won't be rid of me, not even in my death. It makes me so angry to think about all those years I was used. I can't die like this, but still, I am glad that you were there to hold my hand before I died. Now, in the present time, Ignet thought, is this a dream, or am I in the afterlife? But, I am in my childhood bedroom, and I look younger. I don't know how old, but definitely before my third marriage. No, I am alive. I have somehow come back to the past. I never want to live a life like that again. Lena came in and said, Good morning, my lady. Ignet hugged her. Ignet thought, I prayed and begged for them to save you. I understand now. I know why I have been brought back. I have been given a chance to right my wrongs. I will never, ever forgive all those who ruined our lives. Lena asked, Your eyes are swollen. You must be so heartbroken about not participating in the wedding, but you must not cry. Ignet asked, Wedding? My second or third? Lena replied, What do you mean? Your first wedding, of course. Ignet thought, that means today is the day of my wedding with the Grand Duke. After that, her father asked, What is it? Ignet thought, he doesn't even bother to look up. Then she said, I wanted to talk to you about the wedding. I think, at the very least, I should participate in the ceremony. Her father replied, I told you, the Grand Duke is sending his proxy. I sincerely hope you have a very good reason for bringing this up to me. Ignet said, Hear me out, father. His Highness is unable to attend because he was summoned to the battleground. If the Grand Duke were to make an issue out of that to the king for some reason, it would put us in an awkward position, especially if we have done nothing. I think I should at least participate in the wedding, just in case. What do you think? Her father replied, I see your point. Fine, you may attend. After that, Ignet thought, there is a truth I ignored in my previous life, but it is essential that I accept it now. My love for my family was one-sided. I am taking my first step now. I won't hope for love, affection, or warmth from them anymore. I need to leave my family behind and not look back. That is the only way I can survive. In the next scene, her mother spoke. Must you participate in a wedding your own husband won't attend? Weddings are a dime a dozen. What is so special about this one? Ignet replied, If you don't come with me, I would be all alone, mother. Her mother replied, We've told you many times, your father and Rosalie had more important matters. Don't tell me you're feeling sorry for yourself. This ceremony is just a formality anyway. Ignet thought, I've known how my parents truly felt about me for some time now, but yes, I still can't help but feel sorry for myself. Why won't the sting of it dull? Come on now, I need to focus. I have to think about one thing and one thing only. I am about to marry my first husband again, the Grand Duke, the only man for me. After that, Ignet asked, Would you happen to know where His Highness's proxy is? Lena replied, Oh my, miss, he is the most handsome man I have ever seen. He looks ethereal. Ignet asked, Is he the proxy? The person replied, I certainly hope so. I bear the seal of the Ninor Principality. Ignet thought, What does that look? The Grand Duke's proxy spoke, It's nice to meet you. Ignet thought, Maybe I am just overthinking. Her mother said, So, you are the Grand Duke's proxy. There is something I must pass on to the Duke. The dowry sent by the Grand Duke was laughable at best. How can I marry off my precious daughter with such a small amount of money? Ignet thought, How could she say that? The proxy replied, Oh dear, you must have been truly heartbroken. 10,000 gold coins did not feel sufficient to you. Mother thought, 10,000. But I was told it was only 3,000. Did he siphon off the rest? Ignet spoke, Mother, please stop with this indecent talk. There are onlookers. This is a bad look for us, and it's affecting how he sees us. Father would be furious if he heard about this. We cannot let our family name be tarnished. Mother said, I am not feeling well. I'll go take my seat now. I did my job and came all this way. I hope you won't whine about me not being by your side until the very last minute. I've done my part, and I trust you can handle the rest. Ignet thought, I wish I could just sink into the floor and disappear. There were so many witnesses to that embarrassment. I can't bear to look him in the eyes. She said, I apologize for the rude behavior, sir. My mother jests when she's really just upset about marrying off her eldest. The proxy spoke, a jest, you say. After that, Ignet spoke, I wanted to ask you for a favor. Could you pass this on to His Highness? The proxy also asked, what kind of document is this? Ignet replied, not everything in an envelope is a document. You must be used to your administrative duties. It is a letter, but an important one, so I hope you can deliver it to him in person. And would you tell him this message as well, when he replies, I would like to receive it in person, rather than it being delivered to the house. I want to keep my communication with His Highness a secret from my family. The proxy asked, may I ask why? Ignet replied, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that is all I can say. The proxy said, I understand. If His Highness responds, I will pass the letter to you directly. Ignet said, he will respond. The proxy asked, you seem very sure of that. Ignet stated, of course, I am, His Highness. Well, he is my husband now. Then she thought, he is the only person who held my hand as I took my last breath. I may not be able to meet him, but at least I have a way to communicate. The proxy spoke, so, we have to go. Ignet thought, from today on, I am Grand Duke Heinz's wife once again. My dream, which I once let go without a fight, this time, I will cling to it. In the next scene, the Grand Duke's proxy, who is actually the Grand Duke himself, spoke. Long distances use up many more mana stones. The sword replied, it takes a very skilled magician to perform that magic in the first place. It's fascinating that you can teleport such a distance in one go. This girl, your wife now. Why can't I access her mind with my powers? The Duke said, if you don't know that, who does? The sword responded, I have never had a human whose mind I could not read. The Duke replied, except me. The sword continued, you and the mana stones have a special bond, you are no ordinary human. The Duke said, it works to our favor, or else you wouldn't tell this. The sword added, anyway, maybe this girl isn't ordinary either. The Duke replied, it didn't look like she had any powers, not to mention, now I know what the Duchess is really after. The sword remarked, yes, she's just itching to rob you of all your money. Not a single thought about her newly wedded daughter. The Duke thought, compared to her mother, the girl, my wife, she does not resemble her mother at all, not in the way she looks, speaks, or acts. That is why I'm so suspicious. I have no idea what she's thinking behind those eyes, and this letter. Ignet had written in the letter, Dear Grand Duke, it is lovely to be able to write to you like this for the first time. I am now Ignet Ascalon, your lawfully wedded wife, and you are my lawfully wedded husband. I hope you won't forget this. As such, I would like to make a request. My father will ask for my allowance, which you will then send over, but rather than sending my allowance to my father, I ask that you give it to me. This is the first request I would like to make. If you grant this for me, I promise my loyalty to you forever. I look forward to the day we meet in person. If my father ever sends a notice for divorce, please rip it up. The Duke said, she is now Ignet Ascalon. Interesting. I have relied on you for so long to tell me what people are really thinking. It's annoying to actually have to read her expressions and hear what she says now. The sword replied, that's how everyone else lives, though. Kane came in and spoke, boss, you're back early. We did receive an alert, but no one responded. The Duke said, well done. They must never know I personally attended the wedding. Kane replied, I'll leave you to it. Have a good night, boss. The Duke told him, wait. I need you to find out everything you can about Duke Herkea and my new Grand Duchess. On the other hand, Rosalie came and spoke, would you please go to the patrons' meeting for me today? Something very urgent just came up, so I can't go. Ignet replied, if it is your meeting, you need to be there, or tell them yourself that you can't make it. Rosalie said, no way. It's for the patrons, so if I don't show up, it will tarnish my reputation. You're going out anyway, aren't you? Can't you just stop by, just pop in and write my name on the attendance ledger? After that, Ignet said, "When will she grow up?" Lena asked. "What do you wish to do, Your Highness?" "Attend the meeting," Ignet replied. "No, we will go to Rivertown. I have business to attend to there. Someone I must meet." Ignet thought, "In my previous life, I was forced to operate my third husband's merchant group. The business was as big as they come. But no matter how hard I worked to build it up, there was never anything left for me, like sand slipping through my fingers, but things are different now." Then she said, "I saw that this property was up for sale, and I'm interested in buying it." She thought, "I want to achieve something through my own means." After some time looking at the contract, Ignet thought, "There's my name on it." Lena asked, "Your Highness, is it really okay for you to purchase this building? They gave you a nice discount, but you spent so many years saving up." Ignet replied, "It's all right. If I didn't spend it, I would have had it taken from me." Then she thought, "How did I get the money I spent on purchasing the store? There was a temple I used to frequent since I was young. One day, I was given an opportunity to translate texts from the East. The work wasn't offered constantly, but I worked steadily over the years to save up. In my previous life, my mother found out and took it from me. She said, 'Look at the streets in front of the building. The building itself is old, but it's in a neighborhood a lot of people frequent. It's in a great location for people to stop and notice. What more could you ask for from a building? I'll do a little renovation on the building, and that should start attracting a crowd.' After that, she said, 'I have one more thing left to do. We have to go to Aaron Market.' Grick spoke, 'Your Highness, I must warn you that it's not very safe there.' Ignet replied, 'Good thing I have you to protect me.' Then Lena said, 'Absolutely not. We can't let you roam around alone. It's too dangerous.' Ignet replied, 'There's someone I must meet, someone I must bring to my side, but he's extremely cautious. If you two are by my side, it's unlikely that he'll approach me.' Ignet thought, 'That person is Isaac Bakun. He was appointed general manager of my husband's merchant group. He was the only person who treated me with sincerity after my third marriage. He would stay after he finished his work to tell me stories, stories that became my only form of escape from a life stuck at home. Now the plan was very simple. I'll roam around the market alone with this clutch as bait, and once someone tries to steal from me, I'll have either Sir Grick, who's watching me from the front, or Lena, from the back, capture him.' After some time, Ignet thought, 'This is the final street. Maybe I missed him, or he noticed I'm not alone and gave up. If I can't find him here, I'll have to try again tomorrow. I'd recognize that golden blonde hair anywhere. It's him.' Grick captured him, then said, 'Going after a defenseless woman and her belongings, if you don't have money, the least you can do is keep your dignity.' Isaac stated, 'Why don't you try starving too? Let's see what you think then.' 'My dignity, character. Sure, those look nice. I used to have it all, too, and I thought that was all there was to life. But when I lost everything and grew desperate, that's when I really learned, if I die here and now, what's the point of it all? You have no right to judge me when you've never experienced the fear of starving to death.' Ignet spoke, 'Isaac Bakun.' Isaac asked, 'How do you know my name?' Ignet thought, it may sound like an excuse, but none of this is because I wish to use him for his skills. When he told me his stories, even though he escaped his work past. Isaac spoke, 'When I used to pick pockets, I couldn't help but hold vain wishes in my heart, that if I were ever caught, that person would hold my hand instead of dragging me to a prison.' Ignet asked, 'How would you like to work for me?' Then she thought, 'I wished that if I ever met young Isaac, I could hold his hand, that I could fulfill a lifelong wish he carried. You have no idea how happy you've made me.' After that, Isaac thought, 'Why did my family have to take the blame and be murdered, and why was I, the weakest link, the only survivor? I wish somebody, anybody, would just hold out their hand and give me the strength to get up and seek my revenge. Whoever can do that for me, I'll be loyal to them forever.' Ignet thought, he still has his guard up, but it seems like he's calmed down a bit. Good, we can start this conversation. Then she said, 'You wish to have revenge?' Isaac asked, 'How did you?' Ignet replied, 'It doesn't matter how I know. The truth is that the real heir of the Bakun family was you, not your brother. The only question that matters is whether you want your revenge.' Isaac stated, 'I lost my parents, my older brother, my entire family, all in one day. Of course, I want revenge.' Ignet thought, Yes, that is the response I expected. That's the kind of person you are. As part of your revenge, you infiltrated the enemy group and waited for the day you could draw your sword. Ignet said, you need power in order to get revenge. Simply being a former heir of the family title isn't a good enough reason for me to start trusting you with work. Look out the window. Do you see that small shop right there? Prove yourself to me there. You will work to build your friends. One step at a time. Can you do it? Isaac replied, yes, I will prove my talents and skills to you. Ignet said, excellent choice. Come back here in 3 days, work hard, and I'll give you a reward that matches the results you produce. She thought, I just want you to succeed, so you can start living the life you truly want. After that, Grick said, I won't ask how you know him. I understand he was once heir to the Bakun fortune, but now he's just a lowly pickpocket. Are you sure about this? Ignet replied, don't worry, he may be young, but he has a clear goal and purpose. I have another request for you too. Forget about everything you saw and heard here today. This is a matter of life or death for that boy. Lena replied, you got it, Your Highness, Ignet thought. I know I can count on Lena. Sir Grick, on the other hand, operating a merchant group has taught me how to read people well. Grick replied, do not worry, Your Highness. Ignet thought, so I can tell he's not someone who betrays. If my memory serves me correctly, he was there to help me up in the garden whenever I tripped. And he would escort me to the temple library from time to time, so how can I bring him to my side? Then she asked, is your loyalty to the house of Herkea? Grick replied, I have not yet decided, Your Highness. Ignet asked, I've been told that for a knight, who they choose to be loyal to is critical. Do I have that right? Grick replied, yes. Ignet thought, it might take some time, but if I can win his trust, then she asked, if I ask you to delay making that important choice, would you grant me that request? Grick replied, of course, Your Highness. Ignet said, thank you, and thought, maybe he will choose me over the Herkea house. In the next scene, Lena asked, what about the gathering Lady Rosalie asked you to attend? Ignet replied, I won't be going to that. Lena asked, what? Ignet replied, don't act so surprised. Then thought, it's true I often fell victim to Rosalie's sweet talk. It's easy to do favors for naive siblings who don't know any better. But the moment I'm in right now is too important to pass up. It's time for me to focus on myself. I can't let family get in the way. Lisa came and said, congratulations, Lady Ignet. I suppose I should call you Grand Duchess now. Ignet asked, why were you looking for me? Lisa said, about that, I wanted to ask you for a small favor. After some conversation, Ignet replied, an interpreter. I have never done that before. Lisa said, but you have the skills and talent for it. It will only take 3 hours of your time. Our original hire suddenly can't make it. There is an important guest coming from the east, and we have yet to find a replacement. Ignet thought, Lady Lisa's husband participated in trade with the east, and books were part of that trade. They often asked me to translate them. I can't say no to her. She's the reason I was able to save all that money in the first place. She replied, consider the position filled. I'm sure I can spare a few hours. After that, Lena asked, about the shop we stopped by earlier today. What do you plan to do? Ignet replied, start a business, of course. Well, not me directly. My plan is to have the boy Isaac manage it. Suddenly, she saw her family leaving, and she remembered what Rosalie had told her. Ignet said, why are you crying? Come on, it's not a big deal. Lena said, how could you say that, Your Highness? I was there too. She said something important came up. How could she? Ignet spoke, it's all right. Really, I had plans today too. I don't feel upset in the least. Go back home. On the other hand, the Grand Duke thought, Duke Luther is a cold, greedy, calculating man. He works as the Baron Emperor's hands and feet. Yet a man of such stature had a daughter whose lack of social activities made her almost completely obscure. All that's known about her is her blonde hair, her lack of resemblance to her parents, her beauty, and her shyness. She didn't strike me as a shy person. You could tell from her eyes that she was hurt, but she'd quickly act like everything was okay. She stopped her mother from asking for the dowry and then asked that the money be redirected to her. I haven't a clue what she is up to, and I don't like it. One thing I can say for sure. The letters are not an excuse or a guise for something else. Ignet wishes to have direct communication with me. If my sword can't hear her heart, I'll have to figure it out for myself, and until I can, I'll have to keep up the proxy identity. Now, where is the Herkea home? In the next scene, Ignet was looking at her family, then she said, "It's fine. After all, I am in Ascalon now." The Grand Duke asked, "Is that some sort of brainwashing you do? Sorry to surprise you. I didn't think the balcony doors would be open." Ignet thought, "The proxy, but this is the third floor." Duke said, "I have brought what you requested. Would you mind letting me in?" Ignet thought, a reply from the Grand Duke. After that, Duke said, "I'm sorry to come so late and with no warning either." Ignet replied, "That's all right. I appreciate your help in this matter. I see His Highness has written a response." The Duke said, "Yes, he asked me to deliver this to you." Ignet thought, he really responded. Then she started reading. In it, the Grand Duke had written, "I hope you understand that I had no other choice but to send a proxy for our wedding. In turn, I understand why you must stay at the Herkea household and why you wish to directly receive your allowance. All of these things seem to be out of our control." Ignet thought, "I should have known Father was behind all of this. His Highness sending a proxy to our wedding. Why have to stay here instead of going to Ninor? All of it was Father's doing. But it's a relief to know that none of this was because he didn't want to be in this marriage." Ignet asked, "Did His Highness say anything else? I mean, was he curious about me at all?" The Duke replied, "Unfortunately, I do not possess that kind of knowledge. I received this letter via a carrier pigeon, but I'm sure he is very curious about you. Would I be correct in assuming you are curious about His Highness, and is that simply because you two are now married?" The Duke thought, "I will uncover the truth. I will figure out what your true motives are and why the Emperor arranged for you to be in my life." Ignet asked, "As his proxy, I assume you are fairly close to His Highness." The Duke replied, "Well, I suppose you could say that," then thought, "Since I am both of those people." Ignet asked, "What kind of man is the Grand Duke?" The Duke replied, "I'm going to need you to be more specific." Ignet replied, "Well, everyone's well acquainted with all the rumors about him, but I am curious to know what he is truly like. You know, Hanvaha supposedly drinks a glass of blood before bed. Or that he can't perform in bed because he's rarely seen with women. Multiple people have seen him talking to himself, so there's also a rumor that he's possessed by the devil." The Duke said, "That is quite a lot of rumors." Ignet replied, "I suppose that's just what happens when you're famous." The Duke asked, "But you married His Highness despite knowing these rumors." Ignet replied, "I don't give much weight to rumors. Both rumors and truth are two separate entities. It's important to experience things for yourself." The Duke stated, "Is that right? Then I suppose you should get to know His Highness for yourself. Do you have any other questions?" Ignet replied, "Not a question, but a request. Could you deliver this to His Highness?" The Duke asked, "Is this another letter?" Ignet replied, "Well, I guess you could say that, but it's more of a proposal." After that, the Grand Duke thought, curious and very suspicious. The Sword asked, "What is suspicious?" The Duke replied, "My new wife seems to know quite a lot of things. In this letter, she says, 'Thank you in advance for the allowance. However, if I could request that the allowance be sent in monostones rather than gold, I would appreciate it very much, and please remember to keep all of this under wraps.'" The Grand Duke thought, "No one knows about the existence of monostones except me and my men. Is there a spy among us? A traitor? No, Durain would have caught whiff of it already, or could it be that the Emperor knows? That can't be it either. He would have stolen them from me by now. Then how on earth does she know about this? Do I have no choice but to do as she says? Am I going to be ordered around by some 19-year-old?" The Sword said, "Your interest has been piqued." The Duke asked, "Who, me?" The Sword replied, "Yes, you look like you've just spotted prey that's hard to pin down." The Duke stated, "Well, I think you're starting to lose your touch." On the other hand, Ignet thought, "I wonder if he will grant my request. One of the reasons he was able to become emperor in my previous life was because of the monostones he uncovered in the forest." The Grand Duke secretly kept all the stones in his possession, and they proved to be useful leverage later on. Now I've revealed to him that I know about their existence. He was able to hide them from the rest of the world for 8 years before. He will likely grant my request in order to keep them a secret. I need to trust that's what he will do. After that, she said, Lena, let's get ready to go out. Lena replied, you were out all day yesterday, Your Highness, aren't you tired? Perhaps you should rest today and set out tomorrow. Ignet replied, I'm fine, then thought, when I stay idle for too long, memories of my past sometimes come back to me. The pain of coughing up blood before I passed out because the poison had melted my organs. How can one ever rest after something like that? In the next scene, the Marquis spoke, we can skip the formalities. Tell me why you have come all this way without prior notice. Ignet replied, I am unsure if what I'm about to say is rude, especially since this is our first time meeting, but I would like to do business with you. The Marquis asked, business? Well, let's hear it. Ignet said, I would like to sell this design to you. The Marquis said, why, this is, Ignet thought, yes, I was expecting such a reaction. A doll whose limbs move just like a human's. Technically, the Marquis invented it himself in my past life, but his obsession with designing and experimenting on it caused his health to fail. He passed shortly after the doll was created, and his business was taken over by castes. Ignet spoke, I have been told that you not only collect dolls but make them too. Then she thought, I know this is originally yours, but I hope you will see this as a bargain for your life. You are paying this price to keep your life. She asked, are you interested? The Marquis replied, yes, that is right. Most people know me as an avid doll collector, but I enjoy making them as well. I've had to hide that part of me, since doll making is considered a commoner's profession, so, I will have to ask, how much? Ignet spoke, it's not money I want, instead, I first ask that you make a few of these dolls. They must be life-sized. I wish to dress them up like those dolls over there. The Marquis said, so, you're telling me, you wish to sell clothes? Ignet continued, and for the next 3 years, I ask that you only sell these dolls to me. The Marquis spoke, you wish to have exclusive rights over them. I can make that work, Ignet stated, and finally, would you allow me to take one of your seamstresses to clothe your dolls? The Marquis replied, you have a deal, however, if they wish to stay here, I won't force them to leave. After that, when the seamstresses were gathered, Ignet thought of the dolls. Before Lena came, when I was a little girl, dolls were my only friends. There was a maid who carved a piece of wood into the shape of a doll and gave it a face. Dolls are stiff, unlike humans, and are built differently. This must make it easy for their clothes to tear, especially when they have no zippers or Velcro. I didn't want to ruin the doll by playing with her one dress, so I began to play with her less and less. After seeing some of the designs, she thought, nothing stands out to me yet. Then, watching another design, she thought, wait, these designs, they're different, they're not meant for dolls. They have openings, zippers, buttons. This is someone who is not after money. This is someone who truly loves designing clothes. Ignet asked, what is your name? Vanessa introduced herself. Ignet spoke, I am looking for a designer ahead of the opening for my new clothing store. Would you say you enjoy designing clothes? How would you like to be the head designer of my store? Vanessa replied, I would love that, Your Highness. In the next scene, Ignet thought, everything went according to plan today. I struck a deal with the Marquis and found a designer for the shop. The Duke came and asked, were you at the temple again? Ignet thought, what is he doing out here? Then replied, yes, father. She thought, is that man with him a guest? That man gives chills down my spine. I know him. My second husband in my previous life. I still remember clearly what he told me. He said that in order for an emperor's shadow to escape the palace, he has no choice but to carry out every order from the emperor. Why would the emperor send his right-hand man here? I don't recall any disaster in the palace around this time. Or is he working with my father? Are they meeting because of the Grand Duke and my marriage? That envelope in his hand. That must be the reason he is here. I have a bad feeling about this. I must find out what it is. After some time, Ignet thought, there it is. The envelope from earlier. I'm just going to quickly check what is inside. What is this? At the dinner table, Rosalie asked, you seem to be in high spirits today, father. What is it? The Duke replied, I have finally got my hands on the money I was owed for some time now. It took 15 years of waiting. Back at the Duke's office, Ignet thought. There were 2 slips of paper in the envelope. The first was a letter from the Emperor, in which he said, "The boy has finally married. You can find your promised reward attached to this package." Ignet thought, "Reward, attached to this package. Does he mean the other papers? It's not unusual to exchange wedding gifts. But a private exchange with the father, and using your right-hand man as a messenger, not to mention having the gift be a claim to a diamond mine. Father married me off so he could have ownership of a diamond mine. I thought my marriage to the Grand Duke was for peace between Baron and Ninor, but if that were really true, it doesn't make sense for this certificate to be here. The question is, what does the Emperor gain by marrying me off to the Grand Duke?" Suddenly, she thought, "Oh no, someone's coming this way. Where can I hide?" Grick told her, "Be quiet. Please excuse me, Your Highness." After some time, Grick spoke. "That was extremely dangerous, Your Highness." Ignet said, "Please don't ask me about it. How did you know I was in there?" Grick replied, "I was walking by when I saw you enter the room. I watched from the tree to make sure you were not being tailed. I apologize, Your Highness." Ignet thought, "I thought I was being cautious by waiting until dawn." Then she said, "Please don't apologize. Thank you for helping me, but it's late now. You should go get some rest." After some time, Ignet thought, "I can't stop thinking about that certificate. My previous life was riddled with unwanted marriages, but there was a time when I really believed that my father truly wished for me to be married off safely to a wealthy household. But all I ever was to him was a means to make him rich. Any trace of hope I had that my father had my best intentions in mind has been decimated with that certificate. Stop thinking about it. I should be focusing on why the Emperor wanted me and the Grand Duke to marry. Perhaps my husband knows something about the Emperor that I don't. I should ask the proxy next time I see him. I wonder when I will see him again." On the other hand, the Grand Duke stated, "Great work, everyone. I think that's enough for today. Let's head back and escort the merchants." Then he said, "I noticed more mutants than usual today." He thought, sometimes, highly pure levels of mana come together in one place to form stones. These stones are found in the woods. Their purity and power are unrivaled. But if a stone is consumed by a monster, the monster grows exponentially stronger and more savage. Cain asked, "I just don't understand why you have been tasked with hunting those brutes down yourself." The Duke replied, "I have told you before, I am nothing more than the Emperor's competent pawn. You also know that I have agreed to that arrangement. We just need to lay low and wait for the moment to attack our prey." The Grand Duke thought, "But I still can't figure out how that girl knows about the existence of mana stones, but I suppose there is a quick way to find out. I just need to see how the mana stones I gifted her get used. I wonder when I should go see my wife again." In the next scene, Ignet thought, "I will just have to work around the room. I have to help interpret for Lady Lisa in a few days. I should brush up on my knowledge of the East. There is no room for mistakes." In the next moment, the Duke came and said, "We meet again." Ignet replied, "You seem to surprise me every time." The Duke said, "I figured coming through your balcony was the best way to deliver updates personally and discreetly, but I fear it could inspire false rumors. From now on, I shall submit a formal request to have an audience with you." Ignet spoke, "I appreciate your concern, but that won't be necessary. I don't mind rumors. I just don't want my family knowing of my communication with the Grand Duke." After that, the Grand Duke asked, "Do you usually pace around the room while reading?" Ignet thought he must have seen her earlier, then replied, "Well, I wish to walk in the gardens, but as it is dark now." The Duke asked, "Perhaps I could accompany you then. I wish I could escort you through the gardens, but for the sake of privacy, perhaps we can walk around the room." Ignet thought, "He is not like the other royal assistants I have met. Seeing how easily he frequents the balcony, he must be physically strong, and he is respectful towards women. My husband picked a fine man to be his servant." The Duke continued, "I couldn't help but notice you were reading about the East. Do you have an interest in the Eastern lands?" Ignet replied, "I learn about their world not so much out of interest, but because I feel it may come in handy one day. As you know, Ninor shares a channel with the East. That's why, in case communication with the neighboring principality proves useful, when I travel after marriage." The Duke asked, "Surely an interpreter would accompany you then, wouldn't it be inefficient for you to learn the language on your own?" Ignet replied, If that is the case, I have spent a lot of time and effort on it. I studied their politics, farming, even their commerce laws. I have studied them all. The Duke asked, "Why would you do that?" Ignet replied, "No one would dislike an accomplished Grand Duchess. Anyway, what brings you here? Is this about the mana stones?" The Duke said, "Yes, I have brought them." Ignet spoke, "Please extend my deepest gratitude to the Grand Duke." Then the Duke said, "Before that, these stones come with one condition. He asked me to find out what you will use these stones for. If you share that with me, they're yours to take." Ignet replied, "I would be happy to share with you. I suppose demonstrating it to you will be the best way, but I can only show you once I am done with what I am preparing. Do you think you could wait a bit longer?" The Duke said, "Yes, if that is the case, I will wait." In the next scene, the Grand Duke thought, "Nothing about this situation makes any sense. She wants to keep our meetings a secret from her family. She won't reveal how she knew about these stones, but she is willing to tell me how she plans to use them." Then he asked, "Do you remember Lady Denver?" Durain, the sword, spoke, "Of course I remember her. She is the first person whose true intentions I revealed to you. She is also the woman who tried to poison and kill you. Her act was only the beginning of a long list of betrayals and conspiracies by others." The Duke spoke, "If it was not for you, I might have died a long time ago. My biggest lesson over the years is that every action and good deed always comes with a motive and a price." Durain told him, "That's just human nature." The Grand Duke replied, "I know that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Look at me, trying to gain my wife's trust to uncover her true goals. If she really has learned about all those things, her intellect is not like that of any noble man or woman. It's likely at a royal level." Then he thought, "What if everything she said was true? If the emperor cornered me into a marriage with a wife of royal intellect, one can only assume he intends to use her to take over my dukedom. But she said no one would dislike an accomplished Grand Duchess. What kind of nonsensical reasoning is that? Could she be seriously unaware that she's being used, and she truly and simply wishes to be liked by all? I'm not liking any of these possibilities, though it's really none of my business." In the next scene, Ignet said, "Wow, it's almost finished." Lena asked, "But Your Highness, do you plan to remove that cover once construction is over? How come you're paying to install it in the first place?" Isaac entered and asked, "You wanted to see me, Your Highness?" Ignet replied, "You're early. Why don't we head inside and chat?" After that, she asked, "Tell me, what do you two think we're covering up the building for?" Lena replied, "Is it for the paint job later, so the paint doesn't get on the streets?" Isaac replied, "I believe it's to get people curious about what's behind the covers." Ignet said, "Correct. Once the opening date is secured, we'll display it outside for the people to see. Surely it will catch the eyes of those walking along the streets." Lena asked, "How did you think of such a brilliant idea?" Ignet thought, "Well, someone else did it first in my past life," then said, "The goal is to open the store a month from now. We have much to prepare until then, and I wish to keep my ownership of the store a secret. So Isaac, do you remember I promised you the chance to show your talents? I would like you to be the front man for this operation." Isaac asked, "But Your Highness, can you really trust me with such an important task?" Ignet said, "Don't tell me you're not confident." Isaac replied, "Not at all. I won't let you down." Ignet stated, "Now that's decided. Here. Take these gold coins. This money must be used only by you, for you alone. Our lives are about to become very busy. There is much you need to buy and prepare. This is a new beginning for both me and you. I want you to know you are not alone anymore." Then she thought, "My debt to Isaac for all he did for me in my past life is now repaid. It's time to say goodbye to both our wretched pasts." After some time, the butler spoke. "The Duchess ordered me to prevent you from leaving the premises." Ignet asked, out of the blue, then she thought, she has never done this before. The butler continued, "I dare not deduce her Grace's reasoning, but she mentioned a guest will be joining tomorrow. Your presence is requested at dinner." Ignet thought, "A guest of my mother's, it must be Uncle Nigel. By asking for my company instead of Rosalie's, she must not want her precious younger daughter to be subjected to his indecencies." Then she replied, "Tell mother I cannot attend as I have a prior engagement. It is her guest in the end. My presence is not required." The butler said, "But her grace has ordered it." Ignet stated, "It seems you have forgotten. But I am a married woman now. My mother is no longer my guardian. From now on, you will address me by my appropriate title as the Grand Duchess, unless you wish to tarnish the Herkea family's reputation with your shortcomings." Ignet thought, "This is the first time I have reacted this way in this life. It wasn't as frightening or as difficult as I had imagined it to be. That's all it took. To suddenly and truly feel like I was leading a different life." After some time, Lena asked, "What will you do if the Duchess tries to prevent you from leaving again?" Ignet replied, "That's unlikely. She won't want to air our family's dirty laundry to others in the social circle." Suddenly, she heard someone say, "Get out of my way. I won't hesitate to use this knife." Ignet thought, "He's speaking in the Eastern language. Things might escalate at this rate." Then she asked, "Could you sheath your blade for a moment?" The other person asked, "Can you speak that man's language?" Ignet replied, "Yes, a bit. Could you tell me what's going on here?" The person said, "This woman pulled out her purse to pay, but he came out of nowhere and tried to snatch her purse away." The lady said, "That foreigner tried to steal my purse." Ignet thought, "He's dressed in traditional Eastern clothing, reserved for the upper class. Could he be the important guest Lady Lisa was telling me about? It seems very unlikely that he would steal." Ignet asked in Eastern, "They're saying you tried to take that woman's purse. Could I ask why?" Kahan replied, "You mean this thing? This is mine. I bumped into that woman earlier. I believe she stole it from me then." Ignet said, "Then I guess we must figure out who the true owner of this purse is. Can you tell me its contents?" The lady replied, "Money, of course, the currency of our land, to be exact." Ignet then asked Kahan the same question. Kahan replied, "There's a lining in the purse, with my name stitched in gold. You can go ahead and check." Ignet said, "Yes, the name Kahan is stitched inside here in gold." The lady never mentioned any stitching, so she really did try to steal it from him. After that, Ignet said, "I only hope this event doesn't sour your time here." Kahan asked, "I would like to return the favor. Would you join me for a meal?" Ignet replied, "You are very kind. Thank you. Unfortunately, I am expected somewhere right now." In the next scene, Ignet said, "The magic has been activated. Wow, the stone's color grew deeper." Lena said, "I've never seen anything like it." Kahan entered and said, "Fascinating indeed." Lena asked, "Your Highness, why is he following us? He keeps looking in our direction. Maybe he's fallen in love with you." Ignet thought, "He's following us." Then she asked, "Sir, did you have something you wanted to say?" Kahan replied, "Yes, tell me your name. You know mine, and it's common courtesy in my country to exchange names." Ignet replied, "Well, it is common courtesy here to treat strangers with a certain amount of respect. You've been speaking very casually with me." Kahan responded, "Then we can stop being strangers and be friends instead." Ignet thought, if this man truly is the guest Lady Lisa was talking about, I can't risk being curt and disrespectful to him. Then she said, "My name is Ignet. Now, what is it that you need from me?" Kahan said, "Forgive my forwardness, but I must ask, what do women like? I'm seeing someone for the first time in a while tomorrow. Someone important. I'd like to give her a gift, but I don't know what they offer here." Ignet said, "So you must cherish this person very much." Then she thought, this man already has someone important in his life. He's asking for help choosing a gift for her. Ignet thought, Lena is a bit too overprotective of me, then said, "Very well, I shall help you, but if you really do cherish this person, surely you would know what they like better than me, a total stranger. What does this person like? Is there anything they've mentioned wanting?" Kahan replied, "Yes, there is, but I cannot give that to her." Ignet asked, "Why is that?" Kahan replied, "I can't give her what she already has. She always told me she wanted to go somewhere far away with me, somewhere no one would recognize us. She wanted a fresh start, and now she is living here in your country, so perhaps she doesn't need any gifts from me." Ignet said, "Except for the part where she wanted to go with you, to escape with you, what she wanted most was to spend her days with someone she cherished." Think about it for a moment. Can you recall a time when she was particularly excited or overjoyed about something? Kahan replied, "Only once, when she was young. She ate this dessert full of fresh strawberries. I remember she looked so happy then." Ignet told him, then you should give her strawberries. My sister told me about a bakery that makes delicious strawberry cakes. It's not just any dessert, you're giving her a special memory too. After some time, Kahan said, thank you so much for today. Ignet thought, I feel uneasy thinking about going back home. I'll be faced with my mother, furious for disobeying her orders, and her perverted brother, but I will face them boldly. In the next scene, Nigel asked Nivea, where on earth is everyone? Didn't you tell anyone I was coming? Nivea replied, I told you, the rest of the family had plans they couldn't cancel. Nigel stated, don't you think you're being too cold to your one and only brother? I would be careful if I were you. By accident, I could speak the truth about how you killed your half-sister to take her place as the Duchess. That would probably put you in a tough position, wouldn't it? Nivea shouted, watch what you say, someone might hear. Nigel stated, I wouldn't have said anything if only you'd had your daughter join us. I wouldn't have been too busy playing uncle to spill secrets, Nivea thought. I am so sick and tired of this monster. The next moment, Ignet entered and said, it's been a while, uncle. Nigel replied, you've grown even more beautiful since I saw you last. Come, take a seat, entertain your dear uncle. Ignet responded, I have to decline. I am 19 years old, and I no longer wish to subject myself to hearing your crude jokes. I think it would be best if you stopped your inappropriate behavior towards your niece, as she is married now. Her mother said, your uncle just dotes on you. You're being too sensitive about it. Ignet shouted, you say I must learn to play coy to earn a man's love. Next time I visit, wear something that shows your cleavage more. These are things uncle said to me when it was just the two of us in the room. Once, when I went out to greet him alone, he tried to force me into his carriage. Nivea asked, is this true? Nigel replied, well, I was simply jesting with my adorable niece. Ignet stated, as someone on the receiving end of it, it did not seem like a jest. Furthermore, I'm sure my husband, the Grand Duke, would agree with me. Nigel shouted, you insolent, arrogant girl. At that moment, Grick stepped in to defend her, saying, I stepped in to protect the Duchess and Grand Duchess from further harm. But I would like to ask you to stop making such a commotion, Baron. Nivea said, thank you, Sir Grick. I am glad you stepped in. Would you please escort Ignet back to her room? I will deal with him. After that, Ignet said, your timing was impeccable. Grick replied, Miss Lena was worried when you were called to the dining hall. I kept an eye on you just in case, and when I saw him trying to hit you, I instinctively stepped in. Ignet told him, I apologize that you were hurt because of me. Grick stated, please don't apologize. Next time you find yourself in a dangerous situation like this, please don't step in and involve yourself, Your Highness. Ignet replied, no, I can't do that. Grick spoke, I wasn't saying that to undermine your abilities. I only meant that I could carry out these dangerous tasks for you. There's no need for you to put yourself in danger. Ignet stated, that's the thing. If only people who know how to defend themselves step up against injustice, what does that mean for those who are powerless? Don't they have rights? I know that I'm still in a position of weakness right now, but I need to keep up the fight. Eventually, there will come a day when the wounds heal, and I can be stronger than ever. Grick said, in my humble opinion, you're already strong enough. After that, Ignet thought, usually, he would have come up to the annex and thrown a fit. I'm surprised he's just leaving. Maybe Mother really did say something to calm him down. It's unlike her to stand up for me. This is usually the hour that the proxy would come and find me. Maybe he won't come tonight. His Highness replied, he must be in the Black Forest right now. Should I tell him I wish to see him? Will I be able to see you then? What's the point of me writing this letter? It's not like I have a way to deliver it to him. The Grand Duke asked, who could you be writing to that's making you sigh like that? Ignet replied, just His Highness, then asked, how long have you been there? The Duke replied, I knocked, but you didn't hear. I considered going back, but I had something to give you. How about you give me that letter in exchange for your gift from His Highness? Why did you say you had no means to deliver that letter? Ignet replied, because I can only ever communicate with the Grand Duke when you come as you please. The marriage was agreed upon by both parties, yet I can't help but feel I'm in this alone. I don't know where His Highness is in that vast, dark forest. The Duke told her, the entrance to the Black Forest is not very wide. The forest is vast, but its layout makes it difficult for just anyone to enter. and it is covered by mountain ranges. If you climb to the top of the guard post, you'll see the barracks where His Highness is staying. Would that help now that you know where His Highness is? Ignet said, Yes, thank you. That is much better. So what is the gift you brought with you from the Grand Duke? The Duke spoke. A necklace made of mana stones. It's only effective for one use, but it possesses high-level protective magic. Ignet thought, the color matches my eyes. It must be a coincidence since we've never met, but still, it's beautiful. The Duke said, Allow me to put it on you. Ignet replied, Please thank His Highness for me. I love it. I guess there's no need to feel that way anymore. The Duke told her, I suppose you need a way to communicate with His Highness now. How about this? Unless an emergency comes up and I can't, I will stop by every evening. Until I come up with something better, I will continue to see you every night around this hour. It's getting late, I will be off. In the next scene, Durain, the sword, spoke. Your wife seemed to like the gift very much. The Grand Duke asked, How can you tell? You can't read her mind. Durain replied, You made that gift out of every last green-colored mana stone you could get your hands on, to match the color of her eyes. You didn't need to put so much work into it, so why did you? The Grand Duke stated, I don't know what you're talking about. Her green eyes made an impression on me, that's all. In the next scene, Borgia spoke, I have been expecting you. It is a pleasure to meet you, Your Highness. I am honored to receive your help today. I am the controller of the Baron Merchant Group. Ignet thought, I can't believe the business that Polkins works for is Cast's Merchant Group. Borgia was one of the advisors for my third husband. The two were close, and he was primarily responsible for monitoring and educating me. Back in time, he had said, Have you thought of a way to revive the deal with the Merchant Group? If I were you, I would come up with a solution soon, especially if you don't want your fate to end up like the last 5 mistresses. Now, back in the present, Ignet spoke, Pleasure to meet you, and thought, I need to calm down. This Borgia doesn't know who I am. It's okay. Borgia spoke, Allow me to introduce you to our mistress. This is Lady Arbel, the mistress of the Baron Merchant Group. Isn't she beautiful? Ignet thought, Yes, she is beautiful. It all makes sense now. Borgia's jeers were once meant to humiliate me. All the whispers about Cast's previous wives, why this moment? Despite marrying someone from this country, she doesn't speak our language. This woman is going through the exact same thing I endured then. I want to help, she said in Eastern. Tell me, do you need help right now? Borgia asked. What are you saying to her? Ignet replied, I'm just introducing myself to her, she thought, as I suspected. He fears us communicating without him understanding. Ignet continued, You can gesture to your dress and respond to my question, are you being monitored? Arbel replied, Yes, I am, but it's unlikely that you will be able to help me. Ignet thought, It's like looking at my former self. Every attempt leading to failure, until I gave in. That's why I can't just sit back and watch. The next moment, Kahan entered the room, and Arbel hugged him. Both of them looked very happy. Ignet thought, I had a feeling Kahan was the other guest here, so his precious someone was his sister. Arbel said, I missed you so much. Borgia spoke, Your Highness, would you mind translating what I'm about to say? Ignet thought, You can't even give them a moment. Senseless, selfish little man. Then she said, I'm sorry to interrupt you too, but that man has something he would like to say. You must act like you don't know why I'm here. After the greetings, Borgia stated, May I ask when you think the deal we agreed upon will be put into motion? Ignet thought, That look, I'm almost certain Kahan is being deceived by Borgia. Then she repeated Borgia's words in Eastern. Kahan replied, Any time before I return to the East, even now, if he wishes. Ignet thought, I need to stop this deal, at all costs. Ignet said, I don't know what this deal is, but you need to delay it as much as possible. Shake your head when you reply, as if you're saying no. Then she added, Oh dear, that is going to be difficult. Kahan stated, Wait, tell him I will put the deal into motion as soon as possible if he can fulfill one condition. I want one day to spend with my sister, just the two of us. Borgia replied, I would love to, if it were up to me, but our group is hosting a ball for our mistress, and not to mention the rest of the group, we will be very busy for the next 3 days. Kahan said, I am here for another 2 weeks, I have time to spare. I would also gladly accept an invite to my sister's ball, if one were to be extended to me. Ignet thought, I don't know what Kahan has up his sleeve, but he's bought us some time. In the next scene, Ignet thought, Arbel wrote a note, in which she said, if you really wish to help me, you must stop Kahan. So, she does not wish to make the situation known, in fear of how Kahan would react if he were to find out. This could also put Kahan in danger, she continued thinking, even for me, my escape only came through my death. The next moment, the Duke came and asked, is something the matter? You look pale. Are you feeling ill? It doesn't seem like you have a fever, Ignet replied. I am fine. I am not sick. The Duke responded, if you are not feeling unwell, did something happen? Ignet told him the whole story. The Duke said, we may be able to come up with a solution if we think about it together. We can't turn a blind eye to someone in need. After some discussion, the Duke said, it seems like the problem is actually quite simple. All you need to do is tell Kahan not to fulfill his end of the promise. Ignet told him, I wish to get Lady Arbel out of that merchant group, and thought, I know the difficulty of this situation better than anyone. She said, but I can't just leave Lady Arbel to suffer like this. I have plans to meet Kahan tomorrow, so we will find a way then. We have to. There is a way. All I need to do is find out what it is. The Grand Duke stated, I shall accompany you. Let's meet all together, you, me, and Kahan. Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.